Hello, happy Martin Luther King Day to you, Anthropology 5300, right? January 19th. Of course, when you'll be seeing this, it'll be January 20th, Tuesday, the first day of classes. So welcome back, I suppose I should say, to the spring term in classes. Anthropology 5300, Migrants and Refugees. I wanted to do a short webcam just to introduce you to me, introduce you to the course, and hopefully preempt any questions or concerns you might have about the class. First, a little bit about me. I'm a sociocultural anthropologist. My name is Andrew Nelson. I am not the designer of the course, right? So if you've taken an online class before, you know there's the designer and the instructor. In some cases, it's the same person for both roles. But in this class, the designer was Alicia Cruz, a fellow anthropology professor here at UNT. She wrote the content, most of the content for the course, probably 75%, right? So if something goes wrong with the internet or the content, don't blame me. Just kidding. Actually, I'm the one who's accountable, right? So do blame me, write me an email, ask me questions. Okay, so my research is based in Kathmandu, Nepal. My dissertation research was based there. But increasingly, over the last 2 years, I've moved towards mobility, migration, dislocation, right? So the questions we'll be asking in this class are the questions I'm taking up in my most recent research. As you can read, you go on the website and look under Course Instructor, you can read about my two most recent projects that I'm just starting on migration. One with refugees and one with undocumented migrants in Latin America, coming from South Asia, okay, India and Nepal, in that place, right? So clearly I'm very excited to teach this class. I'm very excited to hear your ideas and exchange our thoughts together because it's a topic of my own research. I'm also excited because I think the question of mobility, the question of dislocation, these will be the central questions of the 21st century, in my opinion. If the 20th century was about the nation state, right, about nationalism, about large state conflicts, right, Cold War, think USSR and the United States, right, that really defined the 20th century. I mean, think about both world wars. We're all about nation-state conflicts, right? Well, I think the conflicts and major issues of the 21st century are going to deal with issues that transcend borders, right? And that's what we're dealing with in this class, right? So, I mean, when anthropologists can hope that borders will become increasingly or decreasingly important in the 21st century, and people will be moving across and will care less about where you're from and more about what you need as a human being, right? I mean, if you look at all the major conflicts today, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, the Koreas, right? It's about the movements of people, right? Dislocated people, and so forth. I mean, think about global warming too, and how, I mean, look at Bangladesh, where they're losing land, they're losing real estate by the year, right? Or many islands in the South Pacific, they're disappearing. So people have to go somewhere. It's about dislocation. So there's this fundamental disconnect between the nation, the person, and territory, right? And that's something we're going to have to face here in this century. And so I think it's a perfect class to take those main issues on. Okay, so I looked up, there's 11 of you in this class, one anthropology MA student, and I think 4 or 5 international studies students, and then the remaining students are a variety of other disciplinary approaches. Well, fear not, non-anthropologists. You don't need an anthropological background to do well in this class. Really, all it means when we say we're doing an anthropological approach to migration, it simply means we're taking on a holistic approach, right? So for us, you need to know the historical context, the social context, the political context, the economic conditions, the culture of a certain place, right? So that's what we mean by holistic. We need to answer all these different approaches, you know, in order to really understand a situation. So even though the title of the course is Migrants and Refugees, the key term here is dislocation, right? You're going to hear this over and over again in this class, dislocation. And by the end of the class, we're going to start talking about emplacement, right? So there's dislocation, losing place, right? Or displacement as well. There's also emplacement, right? Regaining a sense of place, right? A sense of home. So these are the kind of two tensions, the one tension of this class between losing place and regaining a sense of place. And what does that mean? That's kind of the main theoretical issue we're getting at. Let me get into the logistics a bit. If you go to the bookstore, if you go online to the bookstore, you'll see there's 2 required texts. Well, I changed that a bit. You get to choose one of those 2, right? So we have American Dreaming, American Immigrants. Let me see it here. American Dreaming, right? Sarah Mahler's Anthropological Ethnography of Salvadorans in New York. And then the very famous non-fictional account of Hmong refugees in California. The spirit catches you and you fall down, right? Pick just one of these, okay? But you have to select, there's a sign up on the website that should be explained there. If you go to Project Sign Up, you'll be able to choose which one, right? So make sure you get the right one you want, and then you pick only that book. If you've already bought both books, you can resell the one you're not using, or read it. I mean, they both are very good books, right? That'll be in the first half of the class, and then the second half of the class, you will each do an independent project on a particular dislocated or displaced population. So you'll probably, if not buy a text or 2 in regards to that population, you'll be expected to attain certain texts and films about those people, which you can clearly do through interlibrary loan or checking books out here at the UNT library or whatever your local library is, right? You don't have to buy them, but I do expect you to obtain certain key texts in regards to your independent project, okay? But since all of you are doing different independent projects, don't worry about which books you need to get yet. That will be something that comes out in weeks 3, 4. We'll start talking about what kind of materials you should be looking for. And you won't start the work for your independent project until week 10. So that's, April, right? You don't need to worry about it right now. Okay, what else do I need to tell you? All sorts of technical, the syllabus explains all sorts of technical issues in regards to internet, what kind of plugins you need to do well in this class. I don't understand that stuff, so I won't even pretend to explain it. But it's pretty basic. If you have a 2014 standard issue technological setup, you should be fine. How the course is organized. Okay, so if you haven't taken an online class before, listen up. It's open to you 1 week at a time, okay? So each week, and the week runs Monday through Sunday. This first week, of course, is an exception. We're running, since the term starts Tuesday, we're going Tuesday through Sunday. But typically it'll run Monday through Sunday. So that means Monday at 12:01 a.m., right, middle of the night, Sunday night, the next week's material will become available to you, right? So you'll have things to read, both online. That's considered the online lecture part of the class, right? We don't have face-to-face lectures where we come and talk, right? Instead, it's all there on the website. There'll also be additional readings, which will all be attached. There'll be either PDFs linked to the course or online links to articles. There's usually about 4 or 5 articles you need to read each week. There's the occasional film. Some are short. The longest one's probably 70, 80 minutes. I think the movie we're watching this week, The Which Way Home, is about 80 minutes long. There might be the occasional internet websites, interactive websites I hope you to look up and do a little research or digging on your own, right? But everything is there for you on the Blackboard site, right? Okay? So, as I alluded to before, the class is kind of separated into 2 main parts. There's the first half of the class, in which this is weeks 1 through 9, in which I try to ground the class in a strong theory, a theoretical background on migration and refugees. And then at the end of that first unit, right around spring break, on one of these 2 books, this will be your midterm, to write a paper where you apply the theory to these 2 cases. Okay? And that'll be due, I think, the last week in March, 1 week after spring break. Okay, and then in weeks 10 through 14, let me back up. In that first part of the class, weeks 1 through 9, there'll be a kind of a systematic, uniform schedule every week. The only things due will be discussion pieces. And so for discussions, there'll be a question that has to do with the readings or films that we're doing. They'll be due Thursday night at midnight. the first response, right? Your initial posting of the discussion. And then, so then you have Friday, Saturday, Sunday to read your classmates' posts and respond. At least twice, I expect you to respond to your classmates. And that is due Sunday at midnight. Okay, so your initial post due Thursday at midnight, 2 responses, you have Friday, Saturday, or Sunday to get done. Okay? Okay, and then in the second half of the class, you won't have discussions to do. Instead, you'll have independent research projects. You'll all be doing a different research project at that point. So each week you'll have a different theme, and you'll have to create a wiki in response where you relate your case study, your project, to a certain theme in migration or refugee studies. Okay? And so then the wiki will just allow you kind of to build layers upon layers of your independent project. And then in the last week of class, you'll put it all together into a final paper, 10 to 15 pages long, double spaced. You know, nothing too painful, I hope. But first, before we could talk about the final project, the midterm, the discussions, let's first talk about what you should do this week. Okay, so this is kind of an unorthodox week because it's the first week. It's only 6 days long. It's not the typical 7. And we're just introducing ourselves to the class. But first thing you should do is go onto the website. Let me try to open mine here. Okay, great. Click on the Learning Modules tab in the left hand side tab or margin. Click on Welcome and Week 1 Introductions. You can read about me, read about the design of the course. You're watching this introduction webcam, so clearly you're already doing some of this, right? Then go to Projects Sign Up. Well, then maybe make sure to read the syllabus, right? That would be a good thing to do next. You can find that under Learning Modules. You'll see a link for the syllabus and the schedule, right? And then I would recommend you go to Project Sign Up. You sign up for your midterm. Which book are you choosing, right? And then sign up for your final project. Okay. Then you have the actual content of the week. Just 2 things to do, really. Well, 3 things. Read the 1 article for this week. This is a light reading week because it's the first week. Lisa Mulkey's National Geographic article. It's actually not an article in National Geographic. The title is National Geographic. And then watch the documentary film Which Way Home. It's an absolutely wonderful film. Maybe you've seen it before. In order to get into it, remember you have to use your EU ID and password in order to get into the link that I provide for you on Blackboard. Then once you've read Malky's article and the film Which Way Home, click on discussion number 1 and do it. Do discussion 1, where you essentially you introduce yourself, you attach a photo of yourself so I can show everyone what we all look like, right? To make this class a little less impersonal. And then you just give your thoughts on the article and the documentary and how perhaps we can think through both of them. Okay, so that's really it, all you have to do this week. So remember, by Thursday at midnight, I'll expect your initial post in the discussion, and by Sunday, I expect your 2 responses